Dr. Willke, before I give you the microphone, we want to give you a symbol of our love and appreciation. I want to tell you, as I said to you when you came down and testified for the heartbeat bill, when you came and was given the opportunity to speak before the Ohio House of Representatives, he gets the platform for the full House of Representatives. What does he do? He goes to bat for the heartbeat bill. And the thing I want to tell you, Doc, is the thing I told you then, is that you will live to see the victory of your life's work. We present to you, Linda, come on over here. We present to you the Hero for Life Award to Dr. John and Barbara Willke for your life's work in the pro-life movement, your perseverance, for your steadfastness, your leadership. You are the reason why abortion will end, and it will end here on our watch. Doctor.
Take care, hon.
Clean it up, man.
Okay. First of all, my dear Barbara sends her warm regards. We're getting pretty old now. We're in our 64th year of marriage. And we've decided to stick it out. She wasn't feeling too good, and so she stayed home. I'm 2 years younger than she is. I'm only pushing 83. So in any case, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I never thought I'd live to see this day, but we are. I brought with me a little recording that was, we have to start with this one, if it still works. This little baby was 6 weeks and 5 days old from conception when we made this recording. I'll turn it off now if I can.
8 weeks and 5 days prior to
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Okay. Let me jump over a lot of past history because our time is obviously limited. Let me start with the partial birth abortion bill. That's only a few years ago now, but it was an absolute landmark. Until that time, we sort of worked around the edges of this issue. And then this came. We passed it. It was vetoed. 5 years later, we passed it. It was vetoed again. 5 years later, we passed it, and it was signed. Now, during those 10 years, which in a way were almost beneficial to us, public approval of our issue went from 45 to 55% of the people in this country. So the argument over partial birth proved to be immensely fruitful to us, and basically what it did was dispel once and for all the media's image of us as only allowing abortion until 3 months. After that decade, everyone knew that abortion was legal until birth. And when they found this out, they changed their mind. So we've had that bill now for several years. Now what? Well, the next step, it would seem, would be to capitalize on what everyone now knows, and that is that there is a heartbeat. There's something almost magical about the heartbeat. Is there life? Well, if there's a heart beating, there's a life, of course. And when does the heart begin to beat? Well, only when you were about 3 weeks old. But it was too little to hear then. When do we hear it? Well, about 2 months along at least. And, 3/4 of all abortions occur after that. That's interesting. So, what of this heartbeat thing? Janet came to me and to others not too long ago when she came back to the state of Ohio and said, where is their weak point? And we agreed without a question that it was heartbeat. In the average person's mind, if there's a heartbeat, there is life. And it's just that simple. And it's just that uncontrovertible. So, the question then is, should we protect life from the heartbeat? That's interesting. That idea actually only floated here a few years ago. So all right, let's do it. Who will do it? Well, why not Ohio? And Ohio took it on. Now, we know that when you pass this bill, and you will, right? We have a pro-life governor who is waiting to sign it. And we have a pro-abortion attorney general who is waiting to enforce it.
You mean pro-life? Pro-life. Mike DeWine's pro-life. You said pro-abortion.
Oh, not pro-abortion. No. Mike DeWine is one of the strongest pro-lifers here. Yes. So it's passed, and it goes to the federal district court, which, as it should do, will strike it down. It will be appealed to the appellate court, which, as it should do, will confirm that it's been struck down. And then it will be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. And so that's where we're looking right now. Right now, there are 4 pro-abortion Supreme Court justices. There are 4 pro-life Supreme Court justices. And then there's Anthony Kennedy. I've gotten to know him, and I think his story is something we must all know about and pray about. Tony Kennedy was on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's California, and that's the one right under the Supreme Court. There was a vacancy on the Supreme Court. Robert Bork was nominated for that vacancy. He'd have been a superb justice. However, after a lengthy time, he was voted down. The next nominee was a gentleman by the name of Ginsburg. And, lo and behold, it was discovered that he had smoked pot. And he withdrew. So then, there was to be a third nominee for this position. And out of the blue, Anthony Kennedy was nominated. And everyone said, who's he? Well, he's on the Ninth Circuit. Yeah, but who is he? I knew. We had investigated Bob Bork and had gone through every one of his decisions. He had a 100% pro-life record. But he had never directly confronted the abortion issue. And so let's find out where he is. John Noonan was one of our strongest pro-life voices in earlier years. Wrote a wonderful book, was nominated and approved for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. He sat next to Kennedy. I called John. John, tell me about Tony Kennedy. What do you know about him? Well, give me a couple of days, Jack, and I'll be back. He came back and he said, he's 100%, Jack. Back him. And so, to the White House, what happens? Since I had put his name in effect, well, I couldn't do it, but I had talked to and was privy to the highest levels of the White House in those years. They came back to the White House people, had come to me, and I had said, this is a good guy. And I was the only one who nominated him, or at least put his name in for nomination. So the press came to me. I was president of National Right to Life. Who is this Kennedy guy? I said, Kennedy, who's he? And they said, where does he stand on this issue? I said, I don't know. Let's ask him. And so we kept that back and forth, and I was absolutely ignorant, absolutely stupid. So much so that the NARAL, National Abortion Rights Action League, never did condemn him. They didn't get any goods on him. And he went ahead to be confirmed. We've got our guy. Well, for his first 2 years, his decisions were strongly pro-life. And then, as the Supremes do, he had a summer vacation. He went to Europe, very common. But he went with a guy by the name of Larry Tribe. Larry Tribe is the ultimate pro-abortion professor and in charge of the legal department at Harvard. On the vacation, one might say that Tribe at least entered some doubts in his head, maybe turned him a bit. Kennedy came back from that vacation not sure about his pro-life position. And over the next number of years, his decisions on our issue were a little this way and a little that way and then a little back again, and we didn't know where he was. The pro-aborts thought he was on their side. We hoped he was on our side. And then something happened. It's called the Partial Birth Abortion Bill. The Partial Birth Abortion Bill went up for discussion. And then was passed, came to the Supreme Court, and it was judged constitutional. But what's important about that is that you should read that decision. Kennedy authored it. I could have written that decision. It was quite a departure from where Tony Kennedy had been. It was strongly pro-life. It literally begged for us to do something. And so now we are doing something. And we're sending a bill to the Supreme Court which will judge its constitutionality. And in my mind, I have no doubt, none at all, where Kennedy will be on this vote. Peggy, who just preceded me, and I have been close friends for many years. We've worked together. She is just as pro-life as I am. I deeply respect her somewhat doubts today, but I don't share them with her. This is a remarkable bill. You know, when we hear objections to outlawing abortion, we hear that we're not sure that this is life at the first cell stage. This bill doesn't bring that up. We're not sure if this is human life in the first week. This bill doesn't reach that. We're not sure if this is human life before the heart beats. This doesn't reach that. It only starts at a viable, obtainable heartbeat, to the utter, total frustration of our pro-abortion friends. This is one they can't fight. Ask a public person anywhere on either side of this argument, if the heart is beating, is this being alive? You know, and if you say no, they wonder what rock you crawled out from under. It just defies all logic. And in the public's mind, a heartbeat equates with human life. So here we now have an opportunity to protect human life. And I can assure you that if this bill passes, it will go to the Supreme Court. It will be rendered constitutional. This is our opportunity. Should we wait? No. Who knows the mortality of men and women on the Supreme Court? Who knows exactly the results of the next election? Who knows when there'll be another vacancy? Who knows how many of these justices will be there, or how many new ones will be there in a few years, and where they will stand on the issue? We've got the opportunity now. There are no downsides to attempting this. Early on, we were told that if we attempt this and lose it, that they'll be able to sue us and bankrupt the right to life groups and so nonsense. Once it's passed by the state, it moves out of the hands of private citizens and of the right to life groups. And now the expense of this, in whichever direction, is the taxpayer. And we have it in our hands right now to move it through the Senate of the state of Ohio. And if we do, our governor will sign. Now, there's one other state that's in competition with us. It's Kansas. They're in the middle of passing a referendum now to do this exact same thing. And I hope we beat them to it. But there are also 7 more states waiting in the wings who want to pass this same legislation. And they're watching Ohio. So, Ohio, let's go for it.